Hyrox, the very definition of hybrid sport, a fitness challenge for all. But Hyrox is so much more than just a race. Hyrox is helping people in more ways than just giving them a sport. Hello and welcome to On the Rocks podcast with me, Coach Marshy. Hope everyone is well and enjoying this world of hybrid sport and training. So let's welcome today's guest into the show. Hello, Lhea. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Are you?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, really good. So I'm going to go straight in with a question. What does Hyrox mean to you?
Well, it is obviously more than a sport. It's more than just a sport to me. It has been since I've started doing it. It's more about challenging the resilience and proving to myself, and I think probably a multitude of others, that it is you can do the hard things. Like there's more to life than certain things, and pushing yourself and doing something like that and being better, striving for more is just something quite incredible. Yeah, that's
So when you say when you got into Hyrox, so when was that sort of timescales? How long you been involved in Hyrox now?
So I did my first Hyrox in Manchester in 2023. Yeah, 2023. And the reason why I got into that was because my mum passed away in the July before. And one of my clients, we'd been looking at it. We'd seen it. We was like, oh, do we do it? Do we not do it? And she was like, no, come on, we're doing it. You need to push yourself to do something and kind of direct yourself in that direction, because I've got quite a bad history of mental health previous, due to trauma and stuff from when I was younger and stuff like that. But then as I got older, it kind of materialized in different ways. So like I'd go out a lot, I'd do a drink, I'd do whatever else. And I could feel myself. I know I would never go back to that side of things, but I could feel myself mentally dipping, and I needed to find something to give me that dopamine, that endorphin, like type of rush, because I just weren't having it. Like, to me, my mum was my best friend, so I needed, like, I'd literally lost my best friend, so I needed something to give me a bit more of a purpose than just the gym. Yes, that helped me the first time around with my mental health, but like genuinely, it was like lifting weights from A to B, working on physique and stuff like that just was not cutting it. Like, I was just feeling miserable, and anytime I'd go in and lift, my head would be going to like other places, and I weren't getting that focus. So I needed something that would take my mind off it, which is intense, but then also give me something back as well, rather than just slamming my body in the gym constantly and getting nowhere. So that's why we chose Hyrox, and yeah, since then I've done like 10. So I'm a bit addicted to it, some may say.
Well, I think you kind of mentioned sort of other things there in terms of like drinking and other ways of coping mechanisms, etc. And I think you kind of say there about the addiction of Hyrox as well. And I think choosing that to be addicted to is a good thing, right? Because it's allowing you to release, that trauma and that mental health side of things. It's really working for you by the sounds of it. And just to go back to what you said right at the beginning, you kind of touched on that then, and you said about proving that you can do other things in life, that you don't have to, perhaps, I'm assuming, go out drinking and these societal values that we get to a weekend and we must spend a weekend away drinking and doing this and X and Y and Z. But on recording this, you and I have just both spent the whole weekend last weekend down in London, and I personally, don't know about you, got as much out of that as I would going on a 3-day stag do bender, for example?
Yeah, like drinking literally does nothing for me, and it never. I'm not gonna like, never did anyway. Like, who wants a hangover? Like, who genuinely wants a hangover, be rough, and not be able to do anything for the rest of the week? Like, and it's not like just a hangover for one day. It's like you feel rough for the rest of the week, and it's like, I'm not anti-drinking. I will have. I'm quite prone to having an Aperol spritz or a prosecco. Like, don't get me wrong, but I won't go out and get absolutely blooded. Like, I'll have 1, 2, and that's enough for me. And that's because, like, I think I've matured in a way. I think some people just don't mature in terms of the mentality towards it, being like, right, if I'm drinking, I am drinking. And that to me is just, it's not me. And it's like, I have lost friendship groups. I've lost people in my life who don't align with that. And that's fine, but that's just not me. And I hold nothing against them. They hold nothing against me. It's just that I didn't fit in that group anymore. Whereas, like, with Hyrox, tell someone they're going for a 10K on a Sunday and like, yeah, come on, well, let's go. Whereas, like, someone who wanted to go out on a bender, like, they'd be laughing in your face and be like, piss off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you kind of say, just I don't want to unpack it too much for you, but obviously you're using Hyrox and it's something that you got into as a result of your mum passing away. And in terms of a coping mechanism for you, can you explain to people how that has kind of unraveled in the last year or so, and how it's worked for you, and if it's developing at all in terms of helping you day to day with that loss?
Yeah, so, like, I've never felt, this is like quite deep, but I've never felt pride from parents really as such. And the only, like, the longing lasting memory that I have of feeling like a parent feeling proud is when I actually won a sports day in an obstacle course. So it happens. And I weren't the fastest kid. I was quite a chunky little chubby kid at the time, and I won that. And I can still hear to this day, like, my mum screaming, being like, "Come on, like, Paul, like, you've got this!" Like, and then screaming when I get to the finish. And that to me is just something that I've never really had, other than that moment. And that's why I like doing it, because I feel like she's close with me when I'm racing, because that's what's going when I'm in them. Obviously, everyone who does Hyrox knows you can get into a bit of a dark place sometimes. Yeah. And when you're doing that, that's what comes in. So that's to me is that connection of being, she's still here but she's not at the same time.
Yeah. And
so it helps a lot.
What do you think she would think of Hyrox?
Do you think I'm freaking batshit crazy? Like, honestly, I think she'd think I was crazy, but also at the same time, she definitely, I think, and I see it all the time. It's like, I see clients, I see people racing with with the mums, and I think that to me is incredible. Like, and I don't think people realize how lucky that opportunity is, because I wish I'd have been able to get my mum into this, because I think if she'd have got into something like this, moving her body more, falling in love with that side of things, I think that would have saved her. But obviously, you can't turn around and be like, oh, this, that, and the other. But I genuinely do think it would have, because we're very much, we was like two peas in a pod, pretty much. So I know if it helped me, it would help her.
Yeah.
So I think it would help a lot of people as well, especially who've got quite as you can probably, I've got quite an addictive personality. Like, when I like something, I like something. If I don't like it, I don't like it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, really interesting to hear your take on that as well, because I think you're right. I think Hyrox is addictive, and I think people like you and I that have probably got that type of addictive personality, that you get into something like Hyrox, and actually I don't think throwing yourself into it, apart from being really tired this week as a result of last week, but apart from that, you can't really, there's no harm going to be done here. There's no bad in this at all. And we're going to kind of unpack that a little bit with you. But just before we do, let's talk about who you are every day. You know, who are you, where you from, what do you do?
Oh God. I feel like Hyrox is my personality now, to be honest. Honestly, I genuinely do. So obviously I'm northern, as you can tell. I'm from a place called Wigan. I've kind of, like I said, kind of fell into the Hyrox side of things, but also at the same time, I would not change that for the world. Genuinely on a day-to-day, I am an athlete. Like, I just live and breathe being an athlete because that's what I love to do. Like, other people like doing different things, but for me, being an athlete gives me that purpose and that drive. But then also as well, I've got a creative side as well. Like, I did a degree in fashion design, completely different to what I do now. But obviously I like the creative side as well. So like creating content, stuff like that, like putting it on my socials. I absolutely love that side of things. So it's like creative athlete, we should call me a little bit.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's cool. That's really cool.
No,
Awesome.
so that's a bit of me.
And you do coaching as well?
Oh yeah, I love my girls. Like, they're like my kids, pretty much. They don't act like kids, but like I treat them as my kids. Like, this is something that I always like have within my community. I think you have the same. It's like we are a family. Like, we're in this together. We're always in it together. You're there supporting everybody else, and they're there supporting you. And I think that's really, really needed, especially in something like this, because it can get quite lonely, especially when you're doing like solos and you're not really doing doubles and stuff like that. So I think people are in that same boat around you is incredible. And it's like coaching the girls, seeing them go from literally zero running. One of the girls at the weekend quite literally went from zero running to doing a 1 hour out with a boyfriend, like,
Wow.
within the last 6 months, which is like, to me, that's bloody incredible.
Yeah,
And
it's
like,
massive.
it's insane. So yeah, like seeing stuff like that is just insane. And then we're like, well, we can do better. But at the same time, it's like, be happy with what we've got now. We'll work on that now, moving forward, and what you can do better. So yeah, it's insane.
And as a coach, like when you're at an event, this is really fresh for both of us probably.
Yeah.
But when you're at an event, do you feel responsibility for watching and being there for those people as well as you trying to be an athlete?
Yeah.
And how does that make you feel in terms of, like, is there any pressure to it, or do you feel like you're rushed or you can't prepare for your race? Is there any of that sort of stuff go on?
So I'm quite lucky. Like, my races tend to fall on the days that they're not racing. So whenever I've raced, I've done that. But then I also plan my races around their races, so I'm not racing on the same day. Because it's draining being standing there all day, but I wouldn't change it for the world. And it's like, there is the pressure there to watch them, but at the same time, I'm applying that pressure to myself because I want to be that coach on the sidelines, screaming like a mad woman, telling them to push, to slow down. Like, there's some expletives that come out of my mouth when I know they've got more in the tank. I'm like, girl, come on. But at the same time, it's like I still wouldn't change it. Like, I've travelled all over to watch them compete. I've travelled to Copenhagen. I've travelled up and down this country. Like, we're going to Stockholm in that's the only race that I will not be watching the girls, because that's one of my A races for the season. And it's like, sometimes you do have to be selfish, but over the years I've learned to be more selfish. I'm probably the most selfish person that you'll ever meet. Selfish but most caring person at the same time. So for me, like, yes, I will be there, but when it comes to me, I will be there for me as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I actually had an experience at Olympia where my race didn't go very well because I didn't really focus. I was in the process of being there as a coach, an athlete. I had to have a business head on because of the whole 365 stuff. I was getting really involved in that and I really wanted to understand it. So I kind of had little meetings planned and things booked with various people that we met along the way. And then I kind of had to be a dad on the side as well. And I kind of forgot to prepare for my race, and I just wondered if that had ever happened to you at all.
I'd probably say Manchester when my race went to shit. It weren't because I've been there supporting or anything like that. It's just because obviously Manchester had a lot of the team racing, so like the taper weeks were put ahead of mine, and also as well, like I had an injury previous to that, and then just racing just made it 10 times worse, because as a coach you do put yourself kind of on the sidelines a little bit, but I've learned since that injury I can't do that. Like, I have, for me to be the best coach that I can possibly be, I've got to be selfish for me as well. And it's got a lot easier literally since January, since saying no or being like, well, I can't be there because I can't physically be in two places at once type of thing.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, and that's really important. And I think sometimes forgetting those basics is easy, right?
Oh, so easy, genuinely so easy. Like the injury situation, it's just easy to not do your rehab because you've got to, like, rehab will take 5 minutes to do, like literally 5 minutes to do. And because you've got to meet, like, not even a meeting scheduled, you've got to do some client programming or something, you skip on that because it is a priority to you, but then it's not in the grand scheme of schemes because you actually care about your clients probably a little bit more than you do about the injury because it's feeling all right. Yeah. But since then, I'm like, nah, I'm not feeling like I did after that race ever again, like ever. Like, when obviously we're tired now, but like I was mentally really tired. Like, yeah, I'm physically tired now, but mentally I was tired, and I don't like that combination of being mentally not sharp and physically not sharp as well. So yeah, since then I've just been like, like my time is my time. You have me unlimited amount of time within the week. Like, that's what we're doing now.
Yeah. So talking about Hyrox, let's do a two-part question on this. So talk about Hyrox as a company and what they're doing and what they're creating. I'd like to know your thoughts on that. And then within that, the elite field and more of a kind of looking at it from a fan's perspective. What do you think to the elite race and the Elite 15 series? So let's go to the first bit. So, you know, what do you think of Hyrox and what they're putting on for us and what they're doing? I mean, look at Olympia. The sheer growth of that from last year to this year was ridiculous in terms of the venue itself. But yeah, I just wondered what your thoughts were on that.
I think it's incredible. Like, I genuinely think it's incredible what they're doing. I think they've developed something that nobody thought they needed or wanted to probably do, but now everyone knows that they need a bit of it. And I think they've hit the nail on the head because everyone can quite physically do it. Now, to me, when people are like, oh, I don't know if I could do it on my own, I'm like, yes, you could. Like, stop talking yourself out of it, remove that self-doubt, that embarrassment that you might feel. Just go and do it and show that yourself that you can do it, because you can quite literally do it. Like, there is people of all abilities doing that race, and genuinely, like, absolutely smashing it in their own way for themselves. Not everyone has to be a 4-minute 30 runner or a 3:45. Like, that's kind of what I'm competing against, but you don't have to be at that level. You can literally go in and do your 6-9 minute Ks. Like, no one cares. Like, no one really cares about what you do. You're the only person who cares what you do. And I think it's good because I don't know. When I'm on the track, I'm there helping it. Like, I'm shouting, telling people, "Come on, move, push yourself." Like, that's the type of athlete I am on the track. Because if someone isn't there watching them and they potentially come on their own, it's a bit like, it's quite lonely. So it's like, if someone can push you in while you're in it to, like, in it physically together, then why would I not do that? And I think people, I take it seriously, but a fun serious, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think it's great what they're doing. I think with how much the sport is growing, especially for women, I'm not going to lie, I think the women are running the show at this point in time with Hyrox, because we're just selling it out. We're selling it out before it even goes out, which is mad, because when have women ever, like, been into sport. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, and you know, sort of the generation we've grown up in, and you know that kind of thing. I think we've obviously seen the development of, you know, especially like with the Lionesses now and the Red Roses with the girls rugby and stuff like that. But actually, you're right, Hyrox is, and I'm going to back that up and say that that's from the bottom of this sport all the way to the top of the sport as well. I mean, I'm not sure that many people, when it comes to Nice, are going to be watching the men's race. They will, and they'll be interested in it. But actually, more people care about what's going to happen in the women's race because it's so competitive and it's such a good race there. But all the way down to the grassroots, you know, your guys that you're coaching or my guys that I'm coaching, they, you know, some of these people couldn't even run 6 months ago. But these women are now feeling like empowered to get in there and do something. But I'm going to put you on the spot here and say, without role models like yourself, how would they do that? You know, they need those leaders to follow, and you're clearly doing that, which is amazing. And I think you should give yourself a lot of credit. I've followed you for a bit. I've obviously seen you on the documentary at the Excel from last year. I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. But, you know, I think you're right. You are right. And when, like you said, in this society that you and I have grown up in, when have women ever really been the leaders in that, in a sports setting? And here we are, and it's dominated. You're absolutely right. I mean, women's doubles on Monday at Olympia was like crazy. They actually had to like stop. They had to stop a wave and had to hold waves back because
I didn't know this because I was racing myself.
yeah. So this was all happening while you were out there. In fact, you were next. You were next to. Was your wave actually held back 10 minutes potentially?
No, we started. We started.
You started, yeah. So I think the one behind you, the wave behind you,
Oh
got actually stopped. So yeah, it was mad to watch. But so if you had a personal message to Christian and Mo, the founders, what would you say to them?
Just keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
Make the events bigger. Do more. Just do more. So people like just do more because everyone wants to do it. So it's like there's going to be no issues filling up.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
like,
I agree.
On it, like literally, like Liverpool, Newcastle, like places like that, they go mad for it. It's mad, like genuinely.
Yeah, I think we would travel all over the country, to be honest, if we could. We do already.
Well, yeah, we do. And it's like every single one of the events is incredible, but it's like we just need more. The UK needs more.
Yeah, no, we've clearly taken the market. I learned some stats on that.
Yeah.
About how in, I think it was 23 season, so last season, if you like, there was 90,000 take part worldwide, and the UK had like 30,000 of that. Like that's massive. That's a huge stat, which was crazy, really. But you know, my mate Tatey, and he would tell you as well. He loves it. He's done one, but he's like obsessed now, and so am I, and so's my coach Carol. She's obsessed, and we're like just these people that just want to go and do more and take part and be part of the community. And it's great. It's a buzz. So it's great to hear someone with the equal passion. I like that. So the elite field, as a fan looking in at the elite field, you got any thoughts on that? Anything you want to say about the elite 15 races? Do you enjoy it as a fan?
So like obviously I do watch it. I'm quite on it because that's the level obviously I'm striving for. Like I'm not going to be a red bush like that. Give me a few more years, I'll be there. But genuinely, like the women, they're just machines. I've no other words other than they are genuinely machines, and like putting them against the men, like the women would outrun the men. Like hand on heart, the women would outrun the men because women don't like being beaten. We don't.
Yeah.
We just don't as people. So for that, I just genuine machines. Like,
do you look up to all of them? Do you look at them as role models at the moment? Do you see
I
them as
always see them
inspiration?
as equal, but then I see them as equal, but then at the same time, it's like like when I first started, I took a lot of growth within this sport, and I would idolize them and think, oh, that's never going to be me, and put them on a massive pedestal. Whereas, like, now I'm like, some of my times are actually quite similar to yours. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you work towards it and you strive for more, you can be at that level. And yeah, it might take me 5 years, it could take me 10 years, but I am going to get there because I'm that type of person. And I think within, like, as a reflective of women in general who look up to these women as well, that's why the women's divisions are so competitive, because we want to be that top level of women. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's
I'm excited by what you're saying. I like the idea that you're not you haven't you might have put them on a pedestal originally, but now you're not doing that, and actually you're looking at it and saying, well, why not me? Why can't I work towards this goal? Why can't I strive to be there? And it's nice that it's quite refreshing, because I think people wouldn't necessarily come on social media on a platform like this, say, and perhaps they might feel shy to say that. They might feel like they can't say that, or have imposter syndrome in saying things like that. But you've come on and said it, and anyone who follows you on social media will put your accounts in the description. You can see how hard you're working, and obviously they can see the client bit as well. You can see how much you're giving to your clients as well. But actually the work is there, and like you said in the beginning there in your little intro, you feel like you're being an athlete. You're being you're training like an athlete, and you're living like an athlete, which is awesome. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited by what you just said. I'm going to watch that with no pressure to you, but I'm going to keep an eye on that, because that's awesome. So in terms of this season, how's it gone? Where you at? Are you happy with it?
So I finished my season in Manchester because I got injured. Was not meant to race at all till Birmingham. Weren't happy at all, as you can imagine, with it finishing there, because I like the sport first and foremost, but then also as well, like, for me, it was like, oh, what, like, so close yet so far. Like, if my foot hadn't have gone, so basically it was plantar fasciitis. Whoever's had that before, you'll understand the pain.
Yeah.
It just went in the race. It was there before. I ignored it because I was like, no, I'm doing it. But I did it, and it made it 10 times worse. And I was so close. Like, when I mean so close, it was ridiculous. And it was like I was in the same wave as like Jade Skillen, Zara, Kate. Like, I was in the same wave as them three, and I was managing to keep up with them until after the burpees, when my foot just fully just went, and I was like, for God, like, why? And obviously you go into that mentality of being like, why me? This, that, and the other. It's like, no, come on, pull yourself out of that, take ownership. If you hadn't ignored this, you wouldn't have been in the situation now. So we just rehabbed it, the hell out of it. I can't stress this enough. Like, when you've got a coach and you've got a sports therapist working with you, just stick to the plan. Like, genuinely, just stick to the plan and get better, so then you can get back to doing what you did. And I literally was back running within 8 weeks. So I'm like, 8 weeks from plantar fasciitis being the worst possible thing ever with my foot to being back was mad. And the maddest thing ever, I was running faster than what I actually was before my plantar fasciitis. So it was like, right, okay, like, we're in a better position now, which is something that I didn't think I would be. But
so you're in that wave with Zara, Kate, Jade, and it's going well to the burpees, and then obviously your foot went. And in terms of going on and rehabbing that afterwards, how's that gone? Is that important? Should people listen to their coaches?
Honestly, like, I cannot physically stress enough. Just listen to the coach, listen to your coach, listen to your sports therapist, and make sure you just stick to it, because you don't stick to it, that means you're not going to hit the markers that you need to next time you go and get reassessed. And then when you get reassessed again and it doesn't hit again, you're going to be even more pissed off, to say the least. The fact that you're not going to be in the position where you want to be. And I'm one of them, like, I've always been like a bit of a goody two shoes. Like, I will do what I'm told, do what I'm said, like, just get it done, and then just trusted it. And honestly, best thing I ever did, because I'm back running faster than I had done before. And I literally got called up with one of my clients. This is how I raced in London, because one of my clients, she's grafted her ass off, like genuinely grafted her ass off. And her partner, sadly, something happened family side, and she weren't able to race anymore. So she was like, I've asked in these groups, people are saying yeah, but then they'd be like a bit like kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out type of thing. And it's like, I need to know whether I'm racing or I'm not racing. Like, I don't want to work myself up to do it, then work myself up by not doing it. So I was like, right, it was one of them. I'll race if you want me to race. Because I'm not going to lie, post injury, I think everyone will relate as well. Like, it's quite nervy getting back into something because you're always just scared of it going again. And I was a bit like, right, let me see with Holly, let me see with Dina, and see what they say. Lo and behold, both of them turned around and was like, right, let's go, let's race. I was a bit taken back, because it was like, am I actually ready is my foot going to keep up with this? And I was like, do you know what? If it does, I'll go into rehab in it again for another 8 weeks. And we raced, and we got over a 37-minute PB. Now, that to me, like...
Yeah, but she had you there. So
yeah,
that must have been awesome for her, like, or pressure, I don't know. But, you know...
She did insane, though. Like, she kept up as well. And I was like... I was really proud, like very, very, very proud of her, because she could have quite easily have told me to slow the pace down. She could have quite easily said, like, right, come on, we'll walk, we'll stop. Didn't stop once for water in the rock zone. I was like, we're not stopping. Like, that's where you're going to build your time up, and that's where you went wrong last time. Now, let's just carry on going. And honestly, she did insane, and to have kept up, to have pushed herself, to have just genuinely shown up how she actually wanted to show up in a race, and she didn't. She went in, she was like, if I get 140, that'll be absolutely fine. And I was watching it on my watch, and I was just like, come on, like keep going, like keep pushing. And I was like, it's at 110 here, and we've got the run and the wall balls left, like, to go. I was like, we're gonna smash this. And across that finish line, and she didn't even realise that she got a PB. She was sick, because obviously when you've crossed the finish and when you're in doubles, all the numbers just come up on the screen, don't they, when you're at the finish? You can't even see your time. And she didn't even realise. And I crossed that finish, and I was like, if anyone's seen it on my socials, you can actually quite clearly see my face. Like, my jaws dropped to the floor. I was like,
I'll back that up, because I saw it in the flesh. I was there. I was on the wall balls when you were there, so I saw it in the flesh, and the video backs it up. And you just kind of jump in the air and like punch the air, because you're so happy about it. And like you said, she's probably just not noticed it, or as the names fly in. But yeah, no, that's awesome. And from your foot point of view, where all good.
Yeah, we're all good.
Okay.
So for me, I needed that. Even if it was like a slower race for me, I needed that. I'm saying that, but that wasn't my slower race. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm saying 180 is not actually a slow race, but for like that was like my slow, like was like my B race, as people would say. And honestly, could not have gone better. Like, I needed that for me as well, to be like, we're good to go, like we can push now.
Yeah.
So So yeah, it was good.
No, that's really cool. That's awesome. Just want to try and understand something a little bit, which you might be able to give us some insight into. So on YouTube, on the Hyrox channel, they did the biggest race ever video for Excel. They did some sort of highlights, and they talked to Jake Dearden about what he did that day, that weekend with the Hyroxes over the 2 days. And they spoke to a few people, and you were one of those people they spoke to. Sort of how did that come about, and what was it like being interviewed by the media crew and the video being made? I don't know if you've seen it.
I've not actually seen the video. I know it was posted, but I didn't actually watch it. So I am obviously one of the ambassadors anyway for the sport, and they just approached me because of my story, why I got into it, because it was more the fact that I was just a normal person, like genuinely the normalest person ever, like living with my boyfriend, just got my family, like just genuinely not a sporty person, and have gone from nothing to like 0 to 100 type of situation, using the sport as kind of my medication in a way to cope with my grief and deal with things. That's kind of why they wanted kind of me on the ambassador team as well, because it was like, if I can do it, I can help other people be inspired and do it as well, which I think is pretty bloody cool, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how that come about a little bit. I was always like, the Hyrox knew who I was, because obviously being an ambassador, they knew my story, and they was just like, we need to actually document it so people actually do know your story too.
Yeah. I mean, it's why you're here. It's how I found you. So yeah, no, and you're from my perspective, you're leading as well. You're leading by example within that. You're not just someone who's talking about the sport. You're leading. You're showing others how to do it, and that's good, and that's really inspirational. We need people like you in our sport. We're coaches, and we like coaching, but now we've got a new sport, if you like, that we've found. And without people like yourself doing what you're doing, we're not going to grow. So, I think from my perspective, someone who's come into this sport and is very early in it as well, I'm looking at people like you and saying, good, I'm really glad there's people like that can help others and be a role model to those people. And, I've been through many sports in my time, all the usual football, rugby, cricket, golf, that sort of stuff. And, this sport is resonating different with me now, like to those, and that it means quite a lot to me. And as you say, we've become obsessed, if you like, but when there's stories, real life stories, tangible things that people understand and relate to, that's going to make this sport grow at grassroots level. And without the grassroots, there is no top end. So I think keep doing what you're doing, and I love the story that you've got. And it's sad why it originated, but this is a good news story out of that, hopefully. And from what you've said here today, who knows what it'll end up being. Like, just keep going. It'll be awesome. It'll be awesome to watch. So I'm gonna ask you a question now about the Rocks Queens.
Yes.
So do you want to talk to me about the Rocks Queens? Firstly, more than me, but why don't you tell us what the Rocks Queens is and a little bit about the Rocks Queens?
So the Rocks Queens is basically a community of women who compete within Hyrox, or people who compete in other sort of sports like DECA, athletics, like loads of different functional fitness stuff, but predominantly Hyrox. And the founder, Caitlin, she was literally just on a track session and was just like, there's got to be more than just like I was saying before, it's quite a lonely sport, especially when you're doing it on your own. And she was like, it'd be good if we could like get a few more people doing it, and this, that, and the other. And genuinely, like, she reached out to me, obviously, one, ambassador, two, obviously, as well. Like, I deal with a lot of the new people coming into the sport as well. So that's why she reached out to me. We've got Nat, we've got Brian in Scotland, we've got Erin in Ireland as well. And then we've got a girl over in Australia now, which is exciting. And we basically, it's just a community. It's basically a group on WhatsApp, just for people to pop any questions in there, rather than put it in like the big Hyrox community group chats and stuff, because it is a bit daunting, because you don't want to be kind of, as women, you don't want to be embarrassed or anything like that. So it's like having that community of women actually supporting women, rather than just being in just like a big group. So yeah, that's kind of how that started, and that's kind of what we do. We hold events up and down the country, to like just bring everyone together as well, and so like people can support each other at events. So it's like, if you are going there on your own, you're not going to be there on your own. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
really, to be honest.
No, that's cool. It's really cool. And this is out, and you're listening to this on a Sunday. So as of yesterday, for those that are listening to this, we will have hosted a Rocks Queen event here at our gym, because Caitlin's bringing some of the guys down to do an event this weekend, like a training session with one of the head judges, and there is another one in the future here as well. So that's going to be cool. And from my perspective, I know it's a female-based group, but the way I genuinely saw it when I spoke to Caitlin was that if there's anything we can help to facilitate the growth in whatever way that is, we will do that, because, and in our case, it's just, we're going to collaborate. We give them the venue, give you guys the venue to come and do the session. And, our guys will be here. Some of our coaches are female, so they're looking to get involved and have joined the Rocks Queens as well. So that's really cool. And I'm really excited to see what you guys turn that all into, because it's quite new, right? It's not been going too long. Is that right?
No, literally started after, pretty sure it was just after Manchester, like literally just after Manchester. And then, yeah, it's just grown and grown and grown and still growing right now. Like, it's mental. Like, after the weekend, obviously, like, we admin the chats and stuff, and it was like there was hundreds of requests to join the group. Like, it was ridiculous.
That's great. That is great. No, it's cool. Really good. And I met Caitlin at the weekend as well, which was cool. So I'll meet her again. And we'll have met her by the time this goes out. So one last question, if we can.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything else you want to add before that about Hyrox.
No, nothing.
Cool. So one last question. What would your kind of top tips, maybe top 3 or top tips, be for someone that is looking at Hyrox but hasn't taken the step into it yet?
Book it. Just book it, because the tickets, you don't have the chance to think. Like, you're either doing it or you're not doing it. So book a ticket straight away. Don't think about it. 2, don't, please, God forbid, don't just go and wing it. Like, you'll end up hating it. You'll not enjoy it, because you're going into something that it's a sport. Like, you would not turn up to a football match without any football training, would you?
No.
Like, it's exactly the same thing. You're going to have to train for it. Whether that is with an actual one-to-one coach like me, yourself, or whether that is going through a coaching app or something like that, which is a little bit more affordable. But you're not going to get that one-to-one aspect or that community side as such. So I'm not going to lie, I'm a coach. I'm a coach's coach. I will always have a coach myself. I'm always going to be pro coach over app or something like that, because it's a human connection. Like, they understand you as a person, and there's something more than that, because that drives you even further. So that was the second one. And the third, I would probably say, like, kind of goes hand in hand. One, don't go out too hot. Or the reason why you go out too hot is because you've got an ego. So drop the bloody ego and actually have a plan in place and work on your mindset, so you can deal with not having that ego there as well.
Yeah, so, no, they're really cool tips. And actually, I agree with your tip too a lot. I'm that person. I believe that a coach should always have a coach, and being with a coach rather than an app is probably the better approach because of the human connection part. And I would totally echo those words to anyone listening. You know, come to either of us, come to anyone that's offering coaching. You know, make sure they've got credibility in it. Obviously they should be doing Hyroxes, but you know, I think get a coach, because the connections made and actually the training and the way it's adapted is for you, not an algorithm, which is really important. So Lhea, thanks very much for coming on the show. That was absolutely awesome. And it's been great hearing your story and hearing about where you're going and what you're doing. We really appreciate it. So where can people find you if they want to have a look?
So on Instagram, Lhea at highlife coaching. TikTok as well, basically the same, literally the same username. Lhea spelled Lhea. Yeah, that's kind of it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks again. And I'm going to thank everyone who's listened and has watched this. If you did enjoy it, please do share it on to anyone who you think would enjoy it. Leave us a review, subscribe, like, etc., because we'd really appreciate it. It really does make a difference to our sports if this can be shared and we can spread the word as much as we can. But for now, I just want to say goodbye. Thanks very much for listening, and we will see you more for On the Rocks.